Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy and get a little something out of this, whether it's for entertainment or curiosity's sake. I'm just glad you're here. As cons get into full swing, I just wanted to do a video on how I did my YAIRA cosplay in only a week after ISOM #1 launched. It's not impossible, and I hope it helps for anyone who might need it. I first wanted to start by explaining why I even decided to cosplay YAIRA, a character I knew nothing about really at the time. Even though Rupa may not have thought too much about cosplay before, I really wanted to show my support and respect by doing something the only way I knew how, besides obviously buying the product. I had almost finished a completely different cosplay that I was going to wear at Anime Matsuri right when this launched, and I had a thought a few days into it that maybe I could do this to kind of show my support. Since I was not going to be home the week before we left for Matsuri, I really only had a week to get this done, so basically I had my day job and used whatever time after that to put this whole thing together. I'm definitely no pro at this, but I always just like to do cosplays to show my support for the creators of my favorite animes, video games, comics, things like that. So let's get into this. To start off, I would really recommend having a Joann's Fabric or Michael's account, as they have really good discounts and coupons that can help you save some money, especially if you're on a tight budget. Before I go over the tools and materials list, I just wanted to kind of go over my process of how I put outfits together, at least in my head in the beginning. I like to kind of find the core portion of the outfit itself. So with YAIRA, I really thought the bodysuit area and the belt and skirt combination were the main points of that. So I decided that with the time constraints I had, a black one-piece swimsuit could really work for the bodysuit itself, and then I could piece the stuff together once that was done. And I didn't really find material for the exact shade of blue that I was looking for, so I did end up buying some white fabric and ultimately dyeing it to the color that I liked, that really matched the media. Once I had that, it was really easy to kind of piece together the other accent items like the boots and the armband. With that in mind, here is the list of tools and materials that I used. Please forgive any of the pieces that might look a little ragged or frayed. I did not really think about doing a video on this during the process of making it until I had already worn it and got the shout out from Ripa on his live stream that day. My brother actually gave me the idea that maybe some people who want to cosplay might benefit from me doing a video on it. So I decided, obviously a little late in the game, to create a video for any of you that might want that insight. Whenever I start a new project, I always go through basically like an inventory of things that I already have on hand. They're basically staples for the outfits that I've done in the past. The first one I ever did, we got a bunch of sheets of corrugated plastic for the weapon that I was building, and I still have that almost 10 years later, which you'll see that yellow piece to the top left of the table, and that's what that's made out of. I painted it with acrylic paints that you can see there as well, and that is used for part of the belt skirt of the outfit. Other items that I have on hand always are, to the right, the yardstick and the rotary mat, as well as the scissors and the rotary cutter and Exacto knife. Those always come in handy when you're cutting hard pieces of plastic, or even the foam strip to the top left as well that's next to that piece of plastic. Other things that you might want to keep on hand that do come in handy are things like that charcoal pencil, as well as like fabric pencils where it comes easily off of the fabric. Other items that I do have on hand as well are different types of glues. So you can see the Gorilla Glue as well as the fabric glue. And one other item that I do keep on hand as well is kind of that roll of Velcro. But eventually I do have to get more specific items depending on the outfit that I'm doing. So of course I'll have to go to the store and get things like the ribbon to the left, which is the Offray brand here. And I did have two different sizes, as you can see here and here. So the items that I purchased for this were the acrylic paint, and here are the colors that I used, as well as those fabric pens. The gold is right here, and that dark blue is here. I'll talk more about it later, but I also have the costume tape, as well as the non-slip pads to put on the bottom of the boot covers. Then of course there's the bag of little jewels that I bought. It was very hard to see everything in the media that we had in the beginning for YAIRA's outfit, but I did notice in some of the promotional material that Rippaverse put out during the campaign, different images did show some jewels on her arm cuffs, as well as there was the jewel on the headband. So those jewels were what I could find, and I just picked the right colors as I saw fit to match with the outfit itself. You'll notice that I have tweezers on the table. I basically use that for when I was painting the corrugated plastic. Hard to see, but it's covered in the yellow acrylic paint. It was just easier to not get it all over my fingers if I have those tweezers on hand. Hey, one thing I did forget to mention in the tools and materials list is my contacts. As you can see, I do have a prescription. Without it, I'm pretty much blind. So I did need to get contacts that didn't cover the pupil. So that's why there's a bit of a discrepancy in the outfit for me. If you cover the pupil, then you're not going to be able to see very well. With the colored contacts, if you need a prescription, they cannot do that with the full white coverage contacts. So that's why I had to go with the ones that don't cover your pupil. For the fabric, I didn't quite find the color I was looking for, so I used the Rit Aquamarine all-purpose dye to get the exact look that I wanted. Just remember with the fabric to find the front versus the back or inside, and look at the grain that you're needing to cut along for when you create your patterns and the actual clothes themselves. For the shorts, they were the same spandex nylon combination, but the dyeing process didn't really match the colors, but they were close enough and far enough apart that it didn't matter so much on the outfit. And I was able to find black, so I didn't need to do any dyeing for this fabric. And just remember, again, the shiny side is going to be the outside of the clothes and the dull side would be the inside. So the wig was probably the easiest part to do, as it was just the ends that needed dyeing. The products that you need are really simple, just this lovely spray bottle that has clearly been well used with some rubbing alcohol as shown here, as well as some acrylic ink. The combination really depends on the color that you're looking for. These two are not the colors that I used, as the bottle is already gone. The end result is a little dry at the ends just because I did leave the ink in a little bit too long. I recommend about an hour, and just test it by seeing if any ink comes off on your hands once you think it's dry, and then go ahead and rinse and your wig should be good. As you can see, boot covers are used when you put a shoe inside of the cover that looks like the boot your character wears. For this particular outfit, I use ballet flats, as you can see, and you can also adjust it to your needs if your character has heels, for example. With the boot covers, you want to make sure that they're safe, and you essentially just need to use some non-slip pads at the bottom. I use the Dr. Shoe Cert non-skid shoe pads. I bought those off of Amazon, so they're really easy to find, and they worked really well for what I needed walking around con all day. With the tops of the boot covers, you may need to use something like these, which are just costume tape strips, and you just attach it. It's basically double-sided tape where you attach it to your skin and the fabric to keep those boot covers up. So here are the wrist cuffs. The edges are kind of stretched out. They just didn't glue very well to the ends, but they still work rather well. I did attempt to create my own patterns similar to the boot covers, but it didn't work as well, so I ended up ordering some white satin gloves and dyeing those, then adding the ribbon to the edges, and I think it turned out pretty decently. With a nylon spandex fabric, it really wouldn't have worked to pull over my hands and then look right on the wrists. Now here are the arm cuffs, where I noticed that there was a jewel on the outside of her arm, and I just made this using the same black spandex nylon fabric and put the yellow ribbon, the thinner yellow ribbon, on the outside edges. And I used costume tape as well to hold these up throughout the day. For the headband, I just used a regular headband and covered it with the excess blue fabric that I had that I dyed. And here, this edge, I used the corrugated plastic and glued it to the inside, so it would just come to that point. If you want, you can look at the comparison between the satin fabric and how it dyed compared to the nylon and spandex, and that's why there was a difference, but it wasn't too noticeable, I hope. Now, here are the different varieties of jewels, and basically I just found a couple that looked like the best ones in comparison to what we had for the media. This jewel seemed better just because of its color and size in comparison to the one that is actually a diamond like hers, so I went with that bigger option. Here is the bodysuit. I used some of the blue fabric that I dyed, as well as that thicker ribbon for the chest piece area. And I used that gold fabric pen to put the designs into it. To get in and out of it, I did have to cut the swimsuit at the bottom and use Velcro. And for the back of it, there's not really any media from the campaign or even now from the book itself that shows the back of her bodysuit, so I just improvised with this, and I created a chest piece as well as a back piece, as you see here, and I put that edging around both sides and sewed the chest piece together with the back piece over the shoulders. You may notice that there's a slit cut into the back here, and that was because I needed to be able to get my head through the top of it when I was putting this on and taking it off. So what I did was I added a little extra of the thinner ribbon at the neck piece and used some Velcro to hold it together once I got inside of the bodysuit itself. Alrighty. I am clearly a glutton for punishment because I decided to save the hardest part of this outfit for last. I literally was finishing it as we were driving into Houston. We even had to do a fabric store run at a couple different places to find some more ribbon so I can actually finish the entire outfit. So I highly recommend maybe getting this done first if you don't want to torture yourself like I did. The belt itself is made out of the foam 8x11, I think, sheets that I purchased, as well as the corrugated fabric, which is for the middle design for that triangle. And then the foam, of course, needs to be able to bend and go around my hips, waist area. So this is that piece from the tools list of the corrugated fabric and some extra of the foam. As you can see, very pliable and able to move. This is where I used that blue fabric pen to get that design into the triangle, and as you just saw, the top part of it kind of came apart and I had to improvise. This happened as soon as we got to the con. I was getting out of our truck and I felt it kind of snap and had the costume tape, so I did a little quick fix and it stayed very well throughout the day, so I was very excited for that. Now, the front of the skirt was easy to see in the media that was available to us and the posts that Ripaverse did. I just hand drew a pattern and cut it out and then used that thicker ribbon for the edges as well as the fabric pen to draw the design in by hand. And the back of it, I was going to actually mirror the front and then just have the blue pieces on the side, but I didn't have enough room for the size of the front and back pieces, so I ended up improvising and putting the blue pieces to the sides of the belt in the back. And I used the Velcro from earlier so I could get in and out of the belt for both the blue pieces as well as the belt itself. So that is how I pieced everything together from start to finish. There will be quite a lot of gluing pieces together with fabric glue or the Gorilla Glue or any other type of glue that you might have on hand, things like the edges of the skirt. But there will be some sewing to put things together, like the shoulder piece with the chest piece and the back, as well as the boot covers. Those were the main areas where I did use a sewing machine. You could sew it by hand as well. If you don't know how to make boot covers or dye wigs, I highly recommend just doing a quick search on YouTube, as there's quite a few videos out there. That's actually what I did. If you're hesitant or maybe afraid, thinking that it won't turn out well, even if yours is a longer period of time before you're going to cosplay or a short period of time, say maybe in a week for Dallas, I just want to let you know it's all about putting in the work and being willing and able to do that. So like I mentioned before in the video, I do have a day job, so I just had to put my head down after I clocked out from work and start working on it. There were mistakes made along the way, but it was definitely worth it in the end. I also want to mention that I'm putting a list of the tools and materials down below in the description for this video in case you want something listed out that way, so you don't have to go back in the video multiple times. Now that you guys have seen my process, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Just give me a comment down below. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the comments later. If Ripa does end up watching this, I just wanted to say again, it's all for you, man. Thanks for giving us new characters and stories to look forward to. I cannot wait to see what happens with Isom and the other characters that you've created.